Yeah, welcome to my channel. This is Logic from Logic Camp. So today we're going to be building API. But before we build the API, let's first understand what is API. Okay, so I found this image on Google. So this is actually explaining how API works for us. So this is our API right here. This um, let's call these visitors, or let's say users. So you know we all have our choice. Like some people prefer Chrome to Mozilla, to Edge, and some people use this Android, Windows Phone, and iPhone. So no matter the device that you are using, or the browser, or the software that you're using, so you can easily communicate with a website API. Then the API is going to communicate with the database, or let's say this the web server. Okay, so this API serves as the communication bridge, the communication between the client app, that is the user, or let's say the front end, and the back end, which is the database. Okay, so let's take for instance, let me open my MS Paint. Okay, probably let's do it this way. Okay, so let's say this is actually my API. So this is the user, or let's say this is the front end of a website. Okay, so I can easily make requests to the API. So I can easily make requests. I can easily make requests to the API. Then the API is going to communicate with the database and get me the data. Then this is going to return back data for me. So this is it. This is actually my request. Then this goes right from the API to the database. Let's put API here so you can understand it. What's going on? Okay, so this is actually my request coming. Then this is our database. So let's say DB, and let's say user. Okay, so the user can easily fetch data using the API from the database. So if I make API call, so let's take for instance Amazon website, or any e-commerce website like AliExpress and all. So let's say the endpoints to the API to get all the products, because we normally host API on API dot websites. I don't know, probably website address.com, or sometimes website address.com forward slash API. So this is actually your website address, then forward slash API, or sometimes API dot website address.com. Okay, so let's take for instance, I want to actually get all the products from Amazon. Let's say Amazon.com. Then I can say products. So this is going to return. So this endpoint is going to return the list of all the products. Then, just in case I want to get just one product, then I can easily pass in the ID of the product, just like this. Or PHP way, I can say ID equals probably 3. So this is going to get a product whereby the ID is 3. That is to return only single products. So just at the same time, if we look at Netflix, oops, oops, oh my god, I love that. So if we look at Netflix. So let's take for instance host their API on api.netflix.com. So if we want to get all the movies, we can just navigate to the endpoint movies. And if we want to get one movie, we can just pass ID is PHP way. Probably let me make this 30. Okay, so ID equals 3. Or probably if you are using Node.js, Django, or any other framework that use this convention.com forward slash movies forward slash then the ID of the movie. So now with this, I can go to the endpoint whereby I can get a single movie from the API. Okay, so how is this thing gonna come to us? Like, how are we going to get it? How are we going to know that okay, we have the result? So API always return a JSON data. So whereby we can easily use probably something like JavaScript or anything to pass the result into JSON. So we are going to put that in action now. So let me open up my Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. You can just go ahead with any text editor of your choice. But right now I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. So let me open up a new project. So let me call this movie app. Whoops, app. Okay. So this. So of course, this is a PHP tutorial. So I'm gonna say index.php. So I'm going to be using XAMPP as my local server. So I'm going to power up XAMPP. And if you don't have it installed on your system, you can easily navigate to apachefriends.org forward slash downloads, or you just Google search XAMPP downloads. Say Apache, let's say XAMPP download. So just have to navigate to any of these results, apachefriends.org download. So you can download for your PC right here or for your machine right here. So once installation is done, you can join us back. So this is my index file. I'm gonna create a skeleton. Okay, so this is actually what we'll be doing. So we're working on a movie app whereby whenever any user log in at first, you are going to be seeing, let me say container, let me put this. You are going to be seeing all movies at first. Then when you click on one, it will navigate you to where you view the details of that movie. Then all this is going to be done using API and JavaScript to fetch the API. So we're going to be using JavaScript to fetch the API. Okay. So let's say I have this. Oh, let's say movies. Let's say movie app. Yeah, this is cool. Let's say H1. Let's say movies or movies. So when you log into the when you log onto the website, you're going to be seeing all movies at first. So let's say movies. Okay. Let me have another division with class name of each. So this will represent each movies. So let's just say H3 movie title. So we don't want to spend much time on the front end here. So let me say img. So this one will be the movie image. Let's say image and the movie title. Then p tag for movie rating. Span. Then the movie rating. I don't know. We don't know what that will be. Over 10. Okay. So this will be for each movies. Okay. So let me create a style sheet. Let me say style.css. We don't want this to be, so let me say body. Let me say background to be f8, f9, f8. Let me say container to be width of 100%. Then max width of 980 pixels. Then margin 0 to then move, then the h1 to the font size of, let's say, 3M. So why the h3 can be font size of 1.8 So all this doesn't really matter because we're actually working on the back end, not the front end. So I just want to set this up quick. No, probably 1.2 rem font weight bold. So let's say the p tag should have font weight of lighter. Okay. So then save font size to small. Okay. Then each movies. Uh, okay. Let's just go like that first. But what I actually want to do is to set the width of this and width of each movies. So let me say this should be 95% width of 95%, margin 0 to, then margin top 80 pixels, margin bottom 80 pixels, then movies each. So movies each, we just want this to be width of 30%. That is for each movies. Then we say movies each, and the img to be height of probably I don't know, probably 150 pixels, width of auto, then object fits to be contained. Okay. All right. So I think let's go with that for our front end. Okay. So let's work on the back end. So I'm gonna have a folder called API. So I like using the MVC framework for my API. So that is M model. I'll create another one. I'll call that controller. Then I'll create another one. I'll call it V, or let's say view. But I normally use V1. So in the sense that I might actually change the version of my API. That's when you see version 1, version 2, version 3 in APIs. So from here, I want to have an endpoint called movies. Okay, I want to have an endpoint called movies. Then from here, I can actually get all movies. But what I want to do is I want to say, let me create my page right here. Okay, so I, 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 I I want to actually target, because I want to use this one movies.php for all the requests that we're going to be having. I mean, including fetch all and fetch single and all that. So I want to say if is set request. So I want to say request action. So if is set request action, so that is if anything is actually coming down to the API. So if anything is actually coming, okay, then I want to say I want to check what is coming. So I want to switch request action. Okay, so if request action is equals to all, that means we are going to return all. We are going to say we are going to return all, that is all movies. So that is return all movies. I don't actually need that one. Okay. Now let's keep this right here. So for the model, I want to have movies.php. Okay, so I just use this in order to differentiate this and this. So this is the one inside my model, while this is the one inside the view. So here I'm gonna have a class movies. Okay, okay. So from here, uh, now we are going to create a model logic, a business logic for fetching all movies. So let's just say public function fetch all. So this is actually going to take in the database, I mean the DB. That will take in the DB. Okay. So now let's say we have a query equals to select all from, let's say our table is movies. Select all from TBL movies. So say order by, so let's order by ID, then this, that is descending order. Okay. Now I want to say results equals, so I'm going to go with my SQLi, that is my SQLi improved underscore query. So we'll have our DB, then we'll have our query. So this is actually going to take in two things, that is our DB and the query. Then at the same time, you can just, let's say DB equals to my new MySQLi. Then say our server. I don't know how you do your thing. That doesn't really matter. So our server, the user. So I'm just putting, so let's say the password. Let's say the database. Let's say is movies. then you can easily say results equals db query. Then you can pass in the query. So we are still going to have the same thing, or use the PDO format. So we're still going to have the same thing, but I'm just going to go with this. So because we're actually going to declare this database, this DB inside another file, not inside this place. Okay. So results. So I want to say counts equals to MySQLi number of rows of our result is greater than 0. So if this count is true, that means we have results, and if it's not, that means there is no result. Okay. So okay. Now I want to check if counts. So if counts, that means we have result. Then I'm gonna grab a while loop and say row equals to MySQL underscore fetch associative array of our result. So that means if we have any results, we want to fetch each items of our result one by one using this function. Okay. Now, before I move on, I want to create a variable here called response. So I can easily return this response. So this is going to be an empty array. Okay. That will be an empty array. Then I'm going to create another one, movies. That will be an empty array also. Now I can now say movies can go like this equals to our rows. So that is this movie is equals to our rows. Okay. So that means each row is going to be saved inside this movie array. Then of course, before we go down, we want to set response status. That is response status. So at first, it is going to be false. Then probably to send some kind of message to the user that's probably no record found. Okay. This will be message. So that is response message. Okay. Okay. So if this is actually correct, if this is actually true, that is if we have any result. So right after the while loop, I want to set response status to true. Okay. Then I want to set response message to empty. Then I want to set response movies to our movies array. Okay. So when that is done, okay, so when that is done, what I just want to do right after the if function, I just want to return, I just want to return JSON encode version of our response. So this is going to convert our response. All these arrays is going to convert them into JSON with JSON pretty points. Okay, so we are going to return JSON. Okay, but first of all, though, before the user can actually see anything, we need to call this function. You can see this function is inside this movie. Okay, so let's create another file here. Let's call it db controller.php. Okay, So this will undo our database. So I just want to keep this real simple. Let me call this class db controller. Okay, so let me say public function. So let's use construct here to construct the database. So this isn't going to take in anything else. It's going to return db equals mysql underscore connect. So we are going to have our local host. We're going to have our server. We're going to have user. We're going to have password, and we are going to have db. Okay. So right here, I'll just say server equals to local host. So user root. Oops. So password pwd, and let's just go database for this so it won't confuse us. We say the name of our database will be movies, although we haven't set that up. Okay, so database. So this is actually going to return the db for us. So right now we have the db. So inside the controller, we want to have something that we call functions.php. Okay. So first of all, I want to import these two files, the movies and the db controller. So I'm gonna say probably let's go require, go back in time into model, then the movies.php, then do the same thing for db. Oops. Do the same thing for db controller. Okay, so we have the two files right here. So I'm gonna say movies equals to new, then the movies inside the movie class. So I'm gonna create new instance of this movie. Okay, so this will stop right here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do next is to create some connection between the view and the controller. So I'm just gonna say include. So I'm just gonna say include controller, that is the controller, then functions.php. Okay, so there's something I didn't actually do over there. I didn't create new instance of our db, so I'm just going to create it here. Equals to new db controller. Okay, so now here we want to return all movies. So we want to return all movies. I can just say all movies equals to, then from inside this movie class, we've created a new instance of the movie class. So I'm just going to use that right here. I'll say movies. Then this function, I'm going to call the function fetch, or we might be having some problem. We should be seeing this. Okay. Okay, that is because this is include. Okay, so we have all the movies. Then what we are just going to do is to just print this, because this is actually coming. Whoops. Oh, because this is actually coming in form of JSON from the from from the model. Yeah, from the model. Okay. So this is case or. If we are fetching or, this is case or. That is, we are getting or. Okay. So what I'm just going to do quickly is to open my server is on. My server is on. Okay. So let me go to localhost /php-myadmin. So if you go to /php-myadmin, you are going to meet yourself inside your admin, your database admin. But I have to do this due to some reason. I have to pass in 8080 to my own due to some reason. So I have a table right here. So if you check the description down below, you are going to see the link to the database file. So you can actually download the database and follow along. You can actually download the project and copy the database to follow along. So I have this movie database right here. Then inside that I have a table called movies again. Wow. Okay. So I have movies as database. I have movies as table. Okay. So inside our DB controller, let's confirm everything. Root, then the database name movies. Okay. But me, I still have to do this again. So due to some reason, I have to do it like this. But localhost is fine. Okay. So let's just say we want to navigate to localhost. Mine is localhost 8080. So you can just go localhost / our project name. I think we use movie hub for the project name. Movie hub. Then /API. So let's just quickly go to the, let's see what we did. Okay. So include failed to open stream, no such directory exists. That is my bad. Include, okay, this is still the same thing. Okay. What happened there inside our view? Oops, this is supposed to go back in time because I was, yeah, I think I saw that coming. Yes, yes, yeah. So this we actually take in db, one parameter as db, which is this db. So I'm just gonna pass in the db there. Okay. So I'm gonna refresh. So we have no results. We have no results. What happened? So let me say, okay. So that is because we didn't actually set the action. You know, we only test for if it's set request action, then we should execute. Then the browser should execute this. But this will get executed instead. This place, this empty area, simply because we don't have action. So let's say action equals to all, then we can have our result right here. So something went wrong. So let's quickly look at this inside our controller, inside the model on line 18. This is telling us that select all from something is wrong. Okay, so select all from movies. Must be type of what's going on there? On line 18. Okay, that is actually here. Oh, yeah, this inside our view right here, we said DB should be DB controller, but we really need to get a content that is the DB construct. The construct we really need to get, let's say DB equals to DB, then construct. So we need to get that because this is actually what constructs our database. So if I refresh that, we should have this. So simply because I have one movie, I have um one movie right here, which is I don't know, the Legend of Ten Rings. So I have it right there. So that is why we are having only one result. You can see the ID as one, but this isn't really good. So let's go for JSON for matter. Okay, okay, whoop. Okay. So I'm gonna copy our results, then I'll paste it here. Okay, so now in the response, we have status as true, we have message to be true, then we have movies to be an array of objects, but currently we only have one object inside the movies. So if I go ahead and just duplicate this, okay, I want to tamper with the movie ID. So just do the same thing. Come on, refresh that. We have two results. If I paste this here, now we have the ID 2, and don't forget we have short it. We have used shorting with ID, then descending order. Okay, so right there we have all the movies. So the only thing we need to do right from our front end in order to get this is to say scripts. Now we are about to write JavaScript. Now I can say let's have function get all movies. Now inside this function, I want to say fetch. Now I want to actually fetch API forward slash view forward slash movie dot php. Okay. Now we are going to say um, we're going to say body. You should have used jQuery for this. It is very much simple. So we're going to say body. Let me just say variable data. So this will be the data that we are sending down to the API. So variable data. At first, I want to have the action, which will be or to fetch or. That is our action. So I'm going to say body equals to JSON.stringify because we are going to need it as JSON at the backend, which is inside our API. So this will convert our data to JSON. Okay. So then I want to say whatever is coming from the API, whatever we are having as result from the API should be converted back to JSON. Then again, I just want to set, so I just want to console log the JSON result that we are going to be having. Okay, so if I open this page, let me call this function right here. So let's say localhost. I'm going to go 8080. Movie app forward slash index.php. Okay, so let's go to our console. Oops, we're having error. Oh my god, that's actually funny. I didn't put the method, so let's just set the message to get, or let's say post, because for some reason, so let's refresh back. Okay, so something went wrong. We are not getting a JSON, so let's go to network to actually see what is going on. Okay, so that is because the action that we pass is small letter all true. So let's check what we did here. Oh, that is small letter. What's going on? I don't know. Okay, so let's just go JavaScript way. Let's say the URL equals, oh, probably this is actually wrong. I don't know. Maybe this is wrong. Go to API forward slash v1 movies .php. This should work. This should work. Forward movie API. Oh, that actually gets sent as the body. So we don't want to do it that way. So what we can do is to say variable URL equals API forward slash v1 forward slash movies forward slash PHP. Then I'm going to say question mark action equals, so whatever we want our action to be, variable action equals to, for now is all. So variable action right there. Okay, so instead of passing this here, I'm just gonna pass in the URL. So I want to fetch this URL with method of post. Okay, so if I refresh that, okay, now you can see that under our network right here, we're having movies, then comma action equals to all. So that means this is actually working. So we have this result. So if I go back to console, we have the result right here. So this is coming from our API down to our front end. So we have this result. Message is empty. True. Like that, like that. So we actually have results. So let's do something whereby we are not going to have any results, probably to return something from here. Okay, so let me just copy this and let me return it from here. So this, all this won't get executed again. So since I've terminated, so now we have message as no record found and status as false. So let me get rid of this. Okay. Okay, so we have all this coming now. But first of all, from here, I want to first say, let me say results equals, let me say results equals to response. Okay, so if results, the status is equals to false, then this should happen. Then else, that means we have results. Or probably I don't want to use else. So let me just return false here. So all this will not get executed. So else, if there's any results, so I just want to take this result dot movie. I want to say const movies equals to result dot movies. Okay. Now I want to say for each movies, that is movies, dots for each. So I want to get each element of this movie. So let's call each one as movie. Okay, so we are going to use the for each function in JavaScript, for each loop in JavaScript. So for each of for each movie coming down from our API, let's console the log movie. So let's console log each movie coming down from the API. So we have movie 2 and movie 1. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut this out, then I'll paste it here. So I'll just say const movie div equals to document dot create whoop, document dot create object. We're actually creating create element. We're actually creating element div. We want to create a div, a division. Then the movie div dot inner HTML should be equals to what I copied from the. So let me do Alt Z just to toggle all this down. Okay. So if this is actually going to be confusing, you can make it this way. It doesn't show any difference. Okay. So like that, like that, like that. So we still have the same thing. Okay. So now, so we are going to have this coming. So movie name, we are going to say instead of the movie title, we just want to pass in movie dot movie underscore name. Then instead of the rating, just want to pass in movie dot movie underscore rating. Okay, so if I should refresh that, oops. So I have to actually create some connection between this and our movies class right here. So what I'm going to do right here, what I'm going to do right here, probably right here, say const movies movies container, let's call that container, equals to document dot get element by class name. Yeah, that is class name movies. Then I'm gonna do this. Okay, so after that I'm gonna say movies container dot append. I'm gonna append the movie div to that. Oh, probably. Okay, I think this should work. Okay, working. Okay, so what's what we need again is to actually get images for that. So I'll just have inside my API. I don't want to put that inside the API. So let me just create assets. Then inside that asset, I'll have movies. Okay. So for the image, let's see what is coming from our API. Um, to for better experience, let's just add our style sheet. link start of CSS. Refresh that. Yeah, yeah. This is a bit okay. So at least we have some spacing. Okay. Uh, so I think the movies. Okay, these movies. That back to our style sheet. These movies should be display flex flex swap. Then justify content start. So why we say each margin from top and bottom should be 40 pixels, then left and right should be 30 pixels. So this should do well. It's not doing well. So I don't know. I don't want this CSS to waste the whole time. So something is actually going on there. So let me go back. Class. Okay, we're gonna get back to this later. So let us go ahead with our style. So I'm gonna say for this, I'm gonna say assets forward slash movies forward slash. So I'm gonna say movie dot movie image. I think I use image. Okay, so I have some images right here on my desktop. So that should be inside the project that you download from the description. What happened? Okay, so this is it. So I'm just gonna copy all this down here. Okay, so movie image. So I'm gonna refresh that. Nothing happened. Assets, movies, movie image. So let's inspect that to see what is going on here. So movie up assets, movies. Oh, I didn't pass in the extension of the picture in my database. That is JPG. So my database, the JPG. Okay. Okay. Now this looks like it's working. Okay. So where is it? And remove this. So left and right. Let's go 10. Okay. Or better still, I think I actually set height. So let me just go 200. So let me go 200. Okay. And let's say no width. Wow. Okay. So I think this is good. Okay. So this is one, and this is another one. But what I actually want to do, where is that? So inside this place, inside our JavaScript code here, what I actually want to do is to wrap all this inside an A tag, inside an A tag. So that whenever I click on it, it's going to take me down to let's say details. Then with ID, with the ID, let's say movie equals to movie. Let's set action to single. So action is going to be single. Then and movie. So the movie that we're actually getting equals movie dot movie underscore ID. Okay. So if you check what is actually coming from database, we have movie ID. So we are going to get this ID. So since all the movies they are going to have a unique ID, so that will work better. Okay. Okay. So I can easily click. Then this will take me to details, but we haven't created that yet. This is details of PHP. Okay. So I'm going to create a new file called details.php. Okay. So I will just copy everything we have here because of course I want to. So let me just call this get single and call this get single. Then we are going to pass in the ID. No, 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 no. Okay. So we can still use JavaScript to do that. We can still use JavaScript to do that. Or better still. So since we are using PHP, so I'm just going to get rid of all this. Now, I can easily grab all the details using the ID right from PHP. Or probably let's put that into action. Let's say if let's drop PHP here. Let's say if is set get that is movie. I think we use movie. Then let's say we have a movie variable here to be an empty string. Movie equals to get movie. Then I can actually use PHP to get all the details here. But we don't want to use PHP. We want to use JavaScript. Now, let's say we have a division here with ID of movie ID. Okay. Now I can actually drop this PHP and say echo movie. So now I can actually drop this movie ID here. So in the sense that if I go back index.php, then I click this. Now I have the movie ID right here. Details. So I have the movie ID. Okay. So what I want to do with that is to actually use JavaScript to grab this because I don't want to use. I just want us to see the implementation of the API. So I don't want to use. Oops. No jQuery replace. Let's say const movie ID equals documents dot get element by ID, movie ID. So I don't know if we understand this. So this is actually the division that we have the ID as movie ID. So I want to quickly get once the page load, I want to quickly get this. Then let's alert that to see if we actually have something. So if I refresh this, I should have. Oops, sorry about that. So I was supposed to actually target the text contents of this. So if I refresh, I should have this. Now I can send this back to the server to grab the information from the API. So I don't want to do this two times. So I'm just going to copy this our function right here. So this is the more reason why I put it in function. So that okay. So okay. Oops. That function get single. So this function is going to take in one parameter which will be the movie ID. Okay. So now I want to send this to API v1 movies.php. Then action should be whatever action we give that, which will be single, so that we can target only single. Then again, and movie ID will be this ID that we are going to pass, which will be movie ID that we are going to pass. Then we are going to send that to the server. Then we will get the result. Now we are not getting we are not getting multiple. Okay, so we're just gonna have this. Just gonna have this console the log result. Okay, so if we actually have results, that means if the ID is correct and nothing is wrong with the database connection, everything works fine. If we actually have results, then we should output this. Then if there's any error there, we should output this. Okay, so I'm just gonna travel to the backend. Then I'm gonna switch this. Oops, switch this as a case single. Okay, break that to terminate the loop. So what will actually happen here is that I want to first get the ID. So I'm gonna say if not is set requests movie ID. I think we use movie then ID. Oh, movie underscore ID. So if this is not set, so we just want to say response equals to new array, then response status equals to false, then response message will be invalid movie ID, something like that. Then drop the message. Then we are going to return, we are going to say print JSON underscore encode, or probably don't let us, let's just say, let's just say, let's just say error equals to JSON underscore encode response, then JSON pretty print. So now we are going to print this error. That is, if the ID is empty, okay, or probably let's say if we have empty ID, what is that? That is, or request movie ID equals empty string. But if it's not, then we just want to print, just want to say single movie equals, we want to get the movies class, then we want to say single, then pass in the DB and the movie ID. So that means we're actually going to need the movie ID. Let's go ID. Then we just want to print single. Whoops. Okay, single movie. Just want to print single movie. But this ID is actually missing right now. So I'm just going to say ID equals to request movie ID. Okay, so this is giving us error simply because we haven't defined this inside our movie class, inside this class. So this is it. So I'm gonna say, whoops, I'll say public single, public function single. So this will grab in the DB and it will grab in the ID. Okay. Now we are just going to copy the same thing, but only to modify this query right here. So since we are getting just one, so select all from movies where movie ID equals, so I want to do this, equals to the ID that is coming, limit one, because sometimes we might have one ID for two. I don't know. Although we have to like block that while uploading the stuff, while uploading data into the database. But nevertheless, we have to make reservation for that. Okay, so I'll just refresh that. So we should have the result in our console. Whoops, nothing come out. Oh, I need to call the function. Let me delete that. Then call get single, then the movie ID, and refresh that. So we have a result coming from our database. So we have a single response from here. Uh, okay, so let's quickly do something with the UI. I don't know. Let's just say single movie. Let's say movie image. Let's say image. Let's say ID movie image. Let's say movie content. Now let's say H3, the title of the movie. Let's just put that loading. Let's give it ID of movie title. Now let's say child. Let's say child. Let's say some kind of break. Now let's say movie rating. Let's create a div for that. Let's say span. Oops. Rating equals strong ID movie rating. So this will be the movie rating of time. Div. So this will be ID movie description. So movie description. Okay. Now let's go to the style sheet. We don't want to do much of something here. I just say display flex. Let's say width of 100%. That's a single movie image. So this we don't want to set anything. So let's just go height of, so let's say 400 pixel because we actually want them to see it loud and clear. So let's leave this with like that first of all. Now back to details. Where is it? Okay. So we have results coming down inside the movies array. We have just one element. Now I can say const movie equals to results dot movies, then the elements at index 0. Okay. Now the movie title, copy that and say documents dot get element by id movie title dot text content equals to movie dot movie name. So if I should refresh that, I will have the movie name right here. Now we have, oops, what happened? My style sheet. Okay, yeah, that's true. The movie image, the movie image. So document does get element by ID. Oops, movie image, movie image dot source. This should work. Dot source. I think we have to go dot attributes dot source. I don't know. Let's go dot source equals. Oops. Dot source equals movie dot movie image. So this didn't work out. So I don't want us to waste time. There's something else, but let's just go document dot create elements img. Whoops, img dot source equals to movie. Okay, so how do we make this to come inside this place? How do we place that here? Just want to get this. So document. So this is not JavaScript class, so I'm just doing it, to be faster. In HTML equals to this. Wow. Okay, so let me refresh that. So we actually have the poster. Oh my god. Okay. Probably a pen will be better. Okay. So I don't want this to be poster. So I'm just gonna say, assets forward slash movies forward slash this. Okay, refresh that. Nothing yet. So movie image. So this is actually showing us unknown movie dot movie image. Let me go in HTML. Let's see what is going on. Oh, oh. So I think it's a better image count. If we break this, so let's say image count equals to, oh, what is this? Then count image equals to this. I can say image count dot inner HTML equals to image. We still have the same thing. Okay, so I think just have to be patient for that one. So the community will get element by ID, the movie image dot source. Oops, delete this and refresh that. Okay, oops, okay. So inside the style sheet, just say single movies, movie image. In the image, the height should be 100% of the parent, 100% of the parent. So if the parent is on 400 pixels, let me set this to 400 pixels. Oh, okay, okay. So we are going to have the rating right here. Details. So we are actually we're actually getting all these details from our database from the API. So let's go movie rating and movie description. Movie rating, movie description. Let's call that movie description. So we have the description right here, we have the rating, and we have the movie name. So let's just replace this with the movie name, and let's escape that from the container. Let's escape it from the container. Oops. So let's just put it inside this div. Let's pass this. And let's say ID of movie name, movie. Just say ID of title, something like that. So I can just copy this, just give it title, save that, refresh. So we have this. Then for the title, I'm just gonna say align center. I don't want to go back to CSS, it's actually boring. Okay, so we just have what we are looking for. So from here, I can add more. I can actually duplicate this. So from this, add that, save free guy 2020. So the picture is going to be, so I have the picture right here, free guy.jpg. JPEG. So I'm going to leave the rest like that. So you can do some other functions yourself. So what we need to do is just hide that, the movie ID, probably passing style, display, none. Okay, so that is done. If I go back to the home page, if I go back to the home page, I have the free guy, I have this, I have this. So the UI is not really great, but we achieve what we are looking for. Oh, let's try and click on the free guy. Okay, so we have it right here. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider doing that right now in order to get notified whenever I release videos like this. So let's add one or two and call it a day from here. Put that free guy. So let's go Deadpool.jpg, right? Deadpool.jpg. Deadpool 2018. I don't know. Deadpool.jpg. Let's keep that right in time. Oops, picture missing. Where is it? Deadpool.jpg. Oops, JPEG. That is JPEG. Okay, so we have that. So if I click on this, we should see Deadpool results. So that'll be all, guys. See you next section.